The awards will be presented to them by Tamar Schwartzbard, Head of Digital Operations at the Israel Ministry of Foreign Affairs Digital Diplomacy Bureau, and Rivitel Yakin Krakowski, Senior Advisor to the Combat Antisemitism Movement and Deputy CEO of the International March of the Living, both grandchildren of Holocaust survivors. Let's all give a round of applause to Tova and Aaron. And now I'm honored to invite Tova Friedman and her grandson, Aaron Friedman, for a special discussion on the role of Holocaust education in combating anti-Semitism. This discussion will be moderated by Lilach Bullock from the Jewish News Syndicate.
Hi, can you hear me? Is this working? Yes, okay. Hi, Tova. First of all, Mazel Tov.
Thank you very much. I have to say that any award I get has to be shared with my grandson.
Mazel Tov to you both. It's beautiful to see.
Because we are a team.
It's amazing. Tova, I'd love to hear your story, and I'm sure everyone here would love to hear more. Could you please share your story with everyone?
Oh, okay. You know, it reminds me when Hillel was asked about, can I stand up? I speak much better when I, you know. Sorry. When Hillel was asked, tell me about Judaism while I'm standing on one foot. So he said certain things, that's how I feel. Tell me your story in 10 minutes. All I can tell you is this: I was extremely touched by our last speaker, because it's true. The world is blaming the victim. When I was going to the gas chamber with, I'll tell you this story, after the war, people said to us, why did you walk like sheep to the gas chamber? Why were you so passive? They asked me. And now they say, why are you fighting back? Why are you fighting so much? In other words, we can't win. Either we're too passive or we're too aggressive. I just want to tell you, the reason I remember so much, although I was very young, was because I had a mother who talked to me all the time. Communication. I think she died very young, at the age of 45, but she had a feeling that she has to tell me as much as possible while it was going on, so I shouldn't forget. She never thought of posterity, you know, we'll talk about it. She just had this feeling. And when I walked out of Auschwitz, I remember she said to me, remember, I was 6.5 years old. Let me tell you, in my town, there were 15 or 14,000 Jews. At the end of the war, there were 200 Jews left. There were hundreds and hundreds of children. At the end of the war, there were 5 left. I'm the youngest, and I'm just about the only one left to speak and represent our town called Tomaszów Mazowiecki. I say it because nobody hears about this anymore. All the Jews, everything that went on there is gone. So, my mother came from a large family, and she lost 150 people. She was the only survivor. My father and mother survived. My father survived in Dachau. I and my mother in Auschwitz. I want to take you through a few miracles, how all this happened. In the beginning was the ghetto. I was under the table. From the age of 2, my memory is being under the table for many reasons. Safety, and it was comforting. I didn't have to see what was going on. But I knew because I heard, because nobody ever told me not to look and not to listen. I remember my grandmother being killed, and I knew that children, even as a child I knew that children and the elderly have to be killed. Now, I didn't know what it meant being Jewish, but I knew the words. It was like, oh, Jewish, you have to die. And this was in my mind throughout the whole thing. So the first thing, when the ghetto was moved to another city, they began to shoot everybody because the trains were full already. The cattle cars were full. Everybody from that town was going to Treblinka. You see, every city was designated to a certain kind of extermination camp. It was all planned. It was duplicated in every single city so that every Gestapo group in each town didn't have to make new plans. They knew their plans. It was all in black and white. So my town went to Treblinka. The reason that we stayed was we were the cleanup crew. So when half the people were shot on the street because the trains were full already, the cattle cars, and they left. About 50, 60 people were left behind. My mother, my father, myself, and other people. We began to clean. So I remember as a child, I would help my mom and my dad pick up bodies because they had to be buried. Because one of the big things during the war was leave no witnesses. You know, there was the whole plan of Hitler. Nobody should be left to tell the story. That's why he also wanted to get rid of the kids. Kids will grow up. They may someday go to the army. They may fight against him. Or they may be like me. They may be left to tell the story. There's nobody left to tell the story anymore after my generation. I'm the youngest who remembers from my generation. So the next step, so the first miracle was, because we were the cleanup squad, we weren't shot. So we went to the next camp. That was a labor camp. There my parents labored from morning to night in an ammunition factory. And the kids were just running around. There were very few kids left. All the kids were shot before, and there were no elderly left. They were all gone. Who was elderly? Anybody over 50, because they were useless. They couldn't work so hard. Workers that will help the Reich would be left living for a little longer. And we were among them. So the labor camp, I roamed the streets while I was being watched by the SS in towers. They were, I could tell a machine gun. I knew exactly, not only did I know I didn't know the name of the gun, but I knew it was different sounds. And I also learned to recognize the steps of the Gestapo, of the police. Some were kinder than others. And my mother taught me, never run. She says, when you see a German Shepherd, which, by the way, I can't touch one to this day, a German Shepherd stands still. This is counterintuitive. You see a dog that you're scared of, you run. I'm 5.5 years old. But I learned to stand still. She wasn't there to protect me. She was working. I learned to stand still. I learned to give the Germans the right of way. I learned to put my hands in the back and lower my eyes. My mother taught me that, and she practiced every day. And then one day, my father says to me, you gotta hide. They're taking whatever children are left. So they hid me in a crawl space. And from the window, little window, I saw all my friends that I played with. I didn't know the adults. I only knew the kids. They were all gone. From then on, I couldn't be seen anymore. And I had to be hidden in a room, in a dark room, with like a blanket over the window. And I knew not to go near the window. You know, I have 8 grandchildren. That's one of them. But that's an older one. But when they were little, I couldn't imagine that they would understand these kind of things. Stand still, be quiet. But we were different children. We were not the same children. So when I was told, do not go over to the window because they will see the blanket moving and they may come in and shoot you. No problem. I didn't go with the, I was there for hours in the dark room. Then one day, my mother said, go out and play. You could be on the street. I was overjoyed. It was like very hot outside. It was, I think it was June or July. And I said, oh, great, but why are you packing? She said, we're going to Auschwitz. I was almost 6. That's when I was on the street, and the Gestapo saw me, but nobody bothered me because they knew that I was going to Auschwitz-Birkenau, which was the only place where you didn't have to work because you waited to die. That's it. Now, when you arrive, the trip was 36 hours. How much time do I have? I don't want to take time from anybody else. Yeah, I'm not texting. I'm looking at the watch. How much time do I have? And I wish, please, text less, speak more. It's I was telling somebody yesterday, I can't call this person. They don't have any vocal cords because they never use them. So please. Anyhow, so let me tell you, when you arrive to Auschwitz, after 36 hours in a cattle car, now if you've seen one, there is one in the museum in New York City where you live here, right by the outside. Looks just like it. It's the authentic thing. And no water. And the worst thing for a little girl like me was not being able to go to the bathroom, except you went where it's, how insulting it is after you are trying to be human in these inhuman places to just go to the bathroom because animals do it and you were considered an animal. Arriving to Auschwitz, the first thing was the terrible smell. And I said, Mom, what is that? She pointed out to the smoke. She told me, why wasn't I killed right away? Why not? Every single child under the age of 12 or 13, you were considered a worker. So you kept you a little bit longer. Because we arrived on a Sunday, and the Germans were religious somehow. I don't know what Christianity they had. They had four gas chambers going, and they didn't want to start another one. Besides, I was in Birkenau anyhow. It's just a matter of time when I'll go up the chimney. So they let me in. That's where my head was shaven. Taking the clothes. We walked together into the barracks, got a middle barrack, the shelves, got the middle one. My mother taught me rules again. Rules, how to behave, how not to lose your cup, not to lose your bowl because you won't have any food. You have to not go to the bathroom. You have to go with everybody. I learned the rules. I learned them, and I didn't complain because I knew, my mother knew what to tell me to keep me alive. I was with her for about a month when I was taken away and taken to the children's camp. That's the first time I saw children, and I was tattooed. And we all went online to be tattooed because we thought we're getting food. I was fighting to be first in line. It's going to be something to eat. Starvation was rampant. We were all shocked when we saw a woman with a needle sitting there and a little inkwell next to her. And I was given my tattoo, 27,633, and this wonderful Jewish woman, she must have been 18 years old, I always talk about her. I don't know her name. Because after she tattooed about 50, 60 children, she was killed. Her job was done. She was very careful when she tattooed me. And her helped me memorize it, because I didn't know any numbers. I didn't know what this was about. I couldn't correspond the number 27 to the picture of 27. She taught me, and that's how I survived. So when they called me, I could. Okay. I was given the thing that I want him to speak, because he's much more important than I am. We were liberated in Auschwitz. My mother and I hid with corpses. So when they tried to find us, they couldn't, because we were under the blanket and the corpse was uncovered. And that's how we survived. I just want to tell you that the last few days in Auschwitz, my mother took me around to show me, look, this is what they did. Look at the people. People were dying everywhere. She made me memorize the picture of Auschwitz, because now I could walk around and I can see it. And when I walked out with her, she was holding my hand, I said, I will never, ever go through this again and suffer again. And then here we are, anti-Semitism again. So, and I want my grandson, who is my continuity, to tell you his story.
Sure.
You get more.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Incredible. I can't believe it's 80 years after the Holocaust. How are you finding all the anti-Semitism? How do you feel? Okay, I'll change my question.
I tell you, all of us worried, Holocaust survivors, what's going to be our continuity? Who's going to remember us? And then I'm very lucky. And I want him to. He is my memory.
Wow. You two have such a special bond. It's so beautiful to see. It's making me tearful up here. Okay, so Aaron, how do you take your grandmother's TikTok videos and turn them into 60 seconds? It must be so hard, because there's just so much amazing content there.
Yeah, attention spans nowadays are a lot shorter. It's a lot harder to get people to watch a 2-hour-long interview about the Holocaust or about her story, but it's about storytelling. It's about taking enough information to educate them while also leaving it short enough for them to want more. And we've seen a lot in our videos or in our comments that people want to continue learning about it after being introduced to the topic of the Holocaust or Holocaust education through social media. So we do short 30 to 60-second videos that then get people's attention and are able to look at longer form content.
Okay, amazing. And since October the 7th, I think we can all agree that everyone here has faced huge anti-Semitism. How do you personally deal with it, especially with your grandmother being a Holocaust survivor?
Well, it's difficult, and we do get a lot of hatred on our social media pages. I don't show her any of it because, like she said, you don't want to live through it again. But you know, I use it as fuel to, it gives me purpose, gives me reason to stand up on social media. That's why we talk about it, is because of the hatred that we see.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have any tips to share to help other people overcome it? Because it can be challenging at times, as well as we obviously use it to drive us. But how do you have any coping mechanisms as well, or you just laugh it off or ignore it?
Ooh, coping mechanisms, I don't think I can help you with that one. I mean, everyone deals with trauma their own way. I speak, she speaks, but really you can't avoid the hatred, and you can speak up as well, and many people find that healing.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. It's such an honor to be with you both. Thank you. Sorry.